everybody else's doors closed, so I'm going to close mine and start.
First of all, thank you so much for coming today. I know your day's busy, so thanks for stopping by. My name is Nosal. I am a math teacher at Kettle High School in Fauquier County Public Schools. I just finished my PhD last year in December, graduated, and I did my PhD in education, specifically using virtual worlds and games and simulations to teach personal finance. I've been teaching in the county. I moved to Fauquier, which is about 50 miles southwest of DC, back in 2002, originally from Buffalo, New York, where I then moved to Chicago and then ended up in Fauquier. So it's one of those, I had some serious culture shock when I came to this part of the world, and it's been wonderful ever since, and I plan on retiring in Virginia Beach. There's my entire life. It seems like as soon as you become a doctor, everybody has any aches and pains they want you to fix. So of course the running joke is I'm just a doctor, and eventually I want to play one on TV. So in my little situation here, I definitely have some pre-existing conditions. I started teaching in the county right about 2006. So I get into this, actually that's not true, 2001, I move in there, and I'm down at one particular school. That's here in the state of Virginia. I start in Buffalo teaching elementary school. I start in Chicago teaching elementary school and computers. I also teach high school math, like I said, when I get here. So again, we move. We go from Illinois to Virginia, and I had some serious culture shock. I went from inner city Chicago to the relaxed situation of good old Fauquier County. As I'm teaching, and just like any situation, the dynamics changed, personnel changes, and I'm at a particular point in my career, and I'm not necessarily, I'm a problem child. I end up rubbing people the wrong way, and one person looked at me and said, well, it's because you're honest. Okay, that could be it. So because of my honesty, I looked over, and my schedule was Algebra 1, Part 1, and Personal Finance. And this particular class is, of course, if any of you, what are you guys teaching? Anything?
Not currently.
ITRT? So you had econ? Yes. So in the whole math world, Algebra 1, Part 1 is usually freshmen or sophomore who have taken it repeatedly, broke it down. It was the courses to get rid of me. So for personal finance, one of the things that they had were 6, 7 kids, and most of them were special education. So not being one to dwell on things, I really take my lemons and I made some serious lemonade out of it. I turned to the kids and I said, what do you want to learn? What do you are interested in? Right off the bat, they're like banking, credit. I want to get a credit card. And these are kids who are like, I'm going to get a car. I'm like, should we talk about college? And crickets chirping. And I was like, okay, we can skip over that. And you're going to get a job, so we're going to do taxes. And we started doing things that they wanted to learn about, that they were going to experience. So this whole passion keeps growing. I turn Algebra 1, Part 1, and my situation completely around. And the next year, I'm teaching 6 sections of personal finance, 150 kids, and I'm reported as the class you have to take before you graduate. So it becomes one of those, okay, I'm really good at this. Not to mention all of the things I learned about myself in doing that. That's the biggest one for me. So of course, my diagnosis. Take what I learned and run from here. I'm teaching personal finance. I'm having a fantastic time. Everybody around me is going to go get their master's in administration because they want to be principals. I don't want to be a principal. Remember, I'm a problem child. Would that make me a problem principal? I don't know. So in this case, I was like, I really don't want to do that. So I go investigate another master's. I had a master's from the University of Buffalo. I was like, yay, this is fun. I hate elementary students. Okay, 4th grade up, I can handle. Anything smaller, I have serious problems with. I shouldn't be near them, let alone teach them. So in this case, I was like, okay, I love the computers. We're totally into the computer situation in Chicago, really expanded on that. And then I get involved with all of these different groups. I find VSTE. I was with ISTE for a little bit when we were in Chicago. Discover Second Life. Discover all of these different things. I'm really into this. I'm looking at the virtual environments. The problem is I moved to a county that, if you imagine, I'm way out there I'm not even in the bleeding edge. I'm cutting the path in the jungle while everybody else is still back there behind me, comfortable going, where did she go? So I tend to continue to go on and move through at my own particular pace and forget that there might be people following me or who might want to ask me questions. So I keep going and I look through the materials, I do all the coursework, and I end up getting talked into doing a PhD in education specifically. I'm passionate about personal finance. There isn't anybody that has a PhD that isn't passionate about it, because if you aren't, you're mentally incapacitated. You're done. If you don't have that passion, you don't commit and you don't finish. And I love the material. I love the material because of what I've learned, and I love how it can be used. One of the biggest things that I learned is that money is experiential. And I begin to understand this taking all those silly courses. Driving is experiential. You can't just read a book and go drive. Cooking is experiential. You can just read the directions. Can you follow through these things? I find that money is experiential. The only problem with that is nobody wants to gamble with their own money. Hey, let's go throw $1,000 at this and see what happens. Nobody rogered up to do that. So in this case, it becomes one of those things that we have to gain those experience points, but we need to do it in a particular way that's not going to cause this detrimental to our life. And then 2008 hits. 2006, 2008, you know what happens? The housing market tanks. It goes from, when I was teaching the kids, especially the ones that were like, it's great, this county's wonderful, you will not be able to afford to live here, so you should find somewhere else to live. The housing market goes under, the credit fiasco. Colleges, high schools, the states, they're scrambling for personal finance content. I had nothing. I had no textbook. I had no curriculum guide. I had absolutely nothing to work with, so I scrounged internet. Consumer jungle. NEFI became my best friend. The National Endowment for Financial Education. Jumpstart Coalition. They were fabulous. I started when they were in California only, and then they went national. So all of these references I start bringing in. And I find a lot of really cool games. Hey kids, guess what I found? Go to this website and click on this link. One of the neatest ones was Escape from Kanab, which was bank spelled backwards. To this day, no one can find it. It was gone. And they were like, no, bring it back. It was wonderful. So a lot of the organizations, everybody starts scrambling. Wells Fargo has the most wonderful program called Stagecoach Island. They had problems. I meet the man who officially has probably a restraining order against me, Chris Deedy. I meet him at ISTE. Changes my life. He makes a program out of Harvard University called the River City Project. It's nuts. It's just going crazy. The River City Project was an 18th century town, or a late 18th centuries, and the children go in and they become a scientist. He was big into science inquiry. And they become a scientist. And they go investigate what's wrong with the people. Why are the people sick? Why do they have cholera? Well, where do they live? What's wrong with the water? And they have to go through and they have to test everything in this wonderful video game format. And the scores go through the roof for science inquiry, all sorts of wonderful things. He now has an eco project that's based out of, it's a wetland river simulation that he's also been doing. Again, dozens of PhDs are created because of the research that these kids do out of this River City Project. I want something like that for personal finance. I want my kids to have an avatar. I want them to get a job, get a house, get a mortgage. Wells Fargo had that, but they had business problem issues. They had some people. I presented it at ISTE one year. This is a fabulous program. It's a wonderful environment. They end up having personnel issues and the whole thing tanks. And I'm in the middle of doing my dissertation. So everything that I had that I was about ready to work for goes under. And I was like scrambling. What do I do now? Do I give up the number of years I've been working, or I go through? And it really was one of those, Christine was like, just keep plugging, Ellen, there'll be something else. Keep looking. The next big thing is almost there. Well, Flash takes off, and there's everything Flash-based games. So now we end up finding all of these little things that are in there. Second Life has its economy. You want to study an economy for a particular growth? Fabulous situation to look at with their Linden dollars. I believe World of Warcraft also has a particular economy. You base things from the purchase. It's Minecraft. I don't know. I think there's a plugin where some of the situations, there are groups that you can actually purchase things in Minecraft and become kitted right off the bat. I don't know the unit of measure they're using, but all of that is becoming in here. When we use Minecraft in school, I have it as a game situation. It's all barter. So the personal finance. We have a house. We start with an economy. Some kids decided to become farmers. Some kids decided to become warriors that people would hire in order to protect the area at night so none of the stuff got damaged. So they have individual jobs within that. We have grown in our society that we now need a subway system because we're so huge. And this is only after a few months of working with these kids. Not to mention, I'm sitting in class one day and I needed some information. I had nothing. I had no idea about retirement plans. I don't know what to do. I was in my early 30s there, and I'm teaching this, and I'm like, hey, I know a guy. So my financial guy comes in and talks to my students about retirement plans, because as a 16-year-old, I don't think about retirement plans at all. And of course, he turns around and he says, well, and of course, your teacher has a 403B. And literally, all of my students turned around and looked at me, and I was like, nope, next name, nope, I don't have anything. He goes, we'll talk. And at that point, literally, I ended up with the 403B, which is doing very nicely. Okay? So talking about all of those things kids don't necessarily care about. In teaching the class right now, they're in the middle of estate planning. And they're thinking about their own deaths. One of the badges says YOLO. And teenagers throw YOLO around like it's their job, and it bothers me to no end. I'm like, here's your YOLO. There it is. What is your obituary going to say? What did you do? So in looking at each aspect of life as these kids are going, we started with banking, we went to college, we got married, we bought a house, we had kids, we did all of the things in our August to December time period that these kids are doing over 30 some odd, 40 some odd years in personal finance. I was looking at my dissertation to be able to do that virtually. And that was my whole game. What did I find out in my dissertation? I found out, number one, I looked at of course, financial knowledge. We used a program called EverFi. Now, EverFi is going to be presented in a couple of sessions later on. So if you want to go and see a different aspect of EverFi, I'm going to show you the financial. There are quite a few, and they're all really good. Nice company. This is the one I end up going to, and I use EverFi in conjunction with personal finance classes as a supporting piece of literature, as a supporting piece of data, as one of the tools and instruments for my project. So I find out with the program, the kids have significantly increased their knowledge of personal finance. Their behaviors towards personal finance, spending, saving, okay, those things change. They get and understand it. They understand the tax forms. They know why they need to fill them out. They know why they fill them out properly. But there's no change in attitudes. And it was at my defense, literally, where the professors kind of looked at each other and they smiled and they brought up another case. And I was like, what? What am I missing? And they kind of turned to me and they said, it's easier to change a behavior than it is an attitude. It's easier to change a behavior than an attitude. And if you think about smoking, think about all the smoking commercials right now. Think about all the things we don't want people to do. What words we don't want teenagers to say. Things that have become passé. You might not do it, but you might still think it. So it becomes easier to change a behavior. I took that aspect and I took it back to my classroom. And I said, I can change your behavior, but I can't necessarily change your attitude about money. Some kids think they're entitled to everything. Well, I'm just going to get rich. I'm going to live off my parents. Oh, does your mother know that? That's their attitude. Their behavior is the matter of, now I need to do well. Now I need to make sure I understand all of these things to move in. Definitely. Everybody scrambled to add personal finance or some economics course to graduation requirements. Now you have to take this in order to graduate because we need to graduate you so you never have another housing bubble fiasco ever again. When I started the dissertation, only 12 states had a requirement, okay? And only out of those 12, only 2 made it its individual course. What do I mean by that? It was taught in something else. So if it was a history class, they did a chapter on some sort of economics. Many schools did not have a required class. Some of it was just a component. Now all 50 states require personal finance as a graduation class, as a credit. Now they have textbooks. Now they're scrambling for material. And at this particular point, textbooks are great, but biggest surprise for me in my dissertation was the experienced teacher had students with greater gains. We had a veteran teacher, I had a middle road teacher, and I had a teacher who probably only had 5 years experience. He also apparently knew he was not coming back, so he didn't give his 100% effort. That veteran teacher, though, the experience in the classroom, understanding retirement, understanding car insurance, understanding life insurance, having those life experiences to share with students made a huge impact on them understanding the particular material. So that was big ones for me. I'm going to go to EverFi really quick and show you EverFi. This is the program I ended up using. Really pleased with, I'm not doing that well. Really pleased with its particular use. Oh, you can do this. I did that all wrong. Easy to use, absolutely free. Have you used EverFi? Anybody? Okay. Things to take back in looking at EverFi. They do everything. And one of the things that the kids talked about liking with EverFi was it takes you through 10 modules. And in those 10 particular modules, they are able to do basics of banking and credit and investment, college savings, car loans, insurance rates, healthcare, life insurance, the whole thing that you cover. I use EverFi in my personal finance class as a supplemental program. We talk about it, they go do EverFi, they experience the material, then we come back and talk about it again. One of the other big things I got back from my dissertation was the importance of reflection. They have to talk about what happened. They have to understand those particular situations and explain why. One of the neatest things they have in the particular program is the ability to run a simulation. And that was my favorite part of this particular program. Yes, it covered the material. Yes, it covered the basics of each particular concept. But then you got to take it and you got to use it. So at that point, the kids go through and they proceed to experience. I don't know if this is going to show me. I should have showed you this. They get to experience what's going to happen at a particular point. I don't want to read the books. I need to go as a student. Let me get a student really quick. I'm doing it, but no, I can't do it.
Is there a fee for that? Like, is there a subscription fee?
There is not. It's completely free. Completely free for each of their programs. It's all underwritten. And I don't have what I wanted to do to show you. I'm sorry.
So did you write this with them, or was it something that they already had and you found it to supplement your lesson?
Part of it was the scramble to finish the dissertation, and I was like, what can I do? I focused on virtual environments. But at that particular point, I ran out and I'm like, I need something to happen. I need something to fill this particular void. What's available? And in this case, what I ended up finding is the simulation aspect just as important as understanding all of the material. Being able to use that thing, those concepts that you've learned in the particular class. So the simulations are 3-part inside there. Even with all of the material, the simulations are there. So you have a high school student, and you have goals. And in the high school student, you have to get a job. You have to save money for college. You have to get your driver's license. Not necessarily just the car, but you have to save enough for the fees and the license. And then what happens is like a little iPhone will pop up to say, hey, the gang's going out for a party. Do you want to go? And you have to make those choices, yes or no. Is that going to happen?
This is in EverFi?
This is right inside EverFi, yeah. So at that particular point, it's all together. It's a separate portion. You have the instructional, and then you have the play part.
Because you had a different link than I used.
Again, the financial? Yeah, that was the teacher one. I didn't go underneath.
Because I used for my class, I used EverFi.net, which may be an earlier version.
No. I went under the teacher portal. I didn't have one of the kids.
I saw it one in .com/EverFi.
Huh, I don't know.
That's a different link.
Is it? Okay, I don't know if I put it up there.
That's right.
But in this case, when you go into the program, and once the kids are able to, they learn the material, then they go play. And I stagger it. I just want you to focus on the teenage things right now. Banking, a W-2, understanding how to do that. They have the options to get other jobs. They have options to quit a job and move to better ones. To be able to reach a goal. And the goal might be get enough money for college. Okay, fill out the college apps. So you have all these little goals. The next situation is a college student, and that's where the credit comes in. We talk about credit, we talk about the dangers of credit, we talk about all of the situations that happen because of credit with college campuses and open a credit card and get a free Frisbee or a t-shirt, all those wonderful things. I volunteer here so I can get the free t-shirt. It's what are you going to do? And we learn about all those aspects and learning and using those understandings within the simulation to be able to bring out the particular answer and get a particular result, which in the case of the goal of the college student is to raise enough money to be able to live on your own, not in the dorm. So it's able to go through there. The final simulation is the professional. You're now late 20s, early 30s, and at that particular point, you're looking at getting a better job, moving out, getting your own apartment, filling out the 401k, retirement funds, health insurance. So all those different aspects that they've taught within the particular program, the kids have the opportunity to experiment with. I make them do the experiments 2 ways. The first way is to get the best score possible. Okay? The second way is to get the worst score possible, to absolutely ruin the person's life. Because again, the simulation aspect is I want to be able to see what happens when we do make all the right choices. What happens when you even make one small particular choice, one wrong? How does it reflect later on? And the kids will come back. We always come back and talk, well, I did this to my college kid. I got the credit card, but I totally got the wrong interest rate, so he totally went down and failed my experiment. So one wrong click on the particular college one sent this one away from his particular goal that he had to go see, which was, again, they talk about. And they're really excited when they ruin their lives. They think that's the more fun. And it's more interesting conversation when they talk about the things they should have done as opposed to what they did. During the dissertation, when I interviewed quite a few of the kids, I was like, well, why did you do this? One kid did really well in the simulation, and his response was, well, I wouldn't let the kid do anything. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, if there was a party, he couldn't go. And if he did this, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't spend money anywhere, so I had a ridiculous amount of money. And I said, how fun was that? He goes, for me, fine. For the kid, not so fun. So it's a matter of they get the aspect of what I should do as opposed to what I really do. Giving them what I affectionately refer to as our experience points. What are you going to do when you come across that? Some other things that I entertain with them. I do a lot of flash the games. We'll have something in between. Financial football and the FIFA soccer, both of these up here. Nice little flash-based games. The financial football drives me nuts because the NFL theme just goes through all the time and repeats it. It's actually really complicated. The particular game itself, as I can show you that one easily, I think. This one really is a nice review if you're reviewing for particular material. You play the game and you're able to choose a play. This is where my problem is. I have no idea about football. So I always have to have kids go, okay, you pick this particular one. And again, the kids like to play against each other. I can't stand that. These are obviously the age groups. I'm probably not going to make this one. So depending on how long, they always pick teams. I know, I'm just clicking. And at that point, click a game. You, as the coach, have to select a play. And the play you select depends on the difficulty of the question. So it could be a really difficult retirement question, but it could be one of those Hail Mary passes that could get you scores immediately. Easy questions are going to be little running plays that are going to go through and be able to get, oh goodness gracious.
Is this 2 people playing head-to-head?
It shouldn't be.
It's 1 person?
It should be.
Single player game?
Yeah. All right, so there's my direction. I have no idea. And again, I am so unsports related that this one I just kind of sit back and go, now why is that guy running? And I make fun of myself at that particular point. So this isn't too bad. Obviously, it's a big one for the boys. Now here it is. I have a choice between these particular games, these particular moves. And I'm going to go easy just because I'll be able to answer that question. Now I have to answer the financial question. This is where teams come in, the pairs, pair and share kind of thing. Because if they don't know, they can poll the group of whatever happens here. Fixed expenses, cost the same each month, might include that, are easier to plan for than variable expenses. Might include rent or cable. I'm going to say all of the above. And then I see what happens. If I get it right, my option will be completed. If I get it wrong, I'm going to do bad. Or whatever else it did. So this is one that, obviously this is a big boy one. The other one is FIFA soccer. That's a really cool one too. Same situation. You apply the play and answer the particular question. Yeah, FIFA soccer, I think it's right here. And again, I have this uploaded, the presentation, the whole thing, all the links are uploaded to the VSTE conference site, so feel free to go play with that. Same thing with the conference, FIFA World Cup. This particular website is in charge. Debt Solutions, this is a debt solution company who has promoted these particular financial games. There's quite a few. So FIFA 2014, football, sorry, certainly. I can leave them up too, or email anything that you would like. My favorite little one is this one right here. These are some nice ones. This is kind of cute. This gives you that expedited retirement. You're going to live 35 years in about a few minutes here. Nice. And you have to make some decisions. I have yet to retire in the red. I'm not going to, in the black. I make the wrong decisions all the time. Hence, right? Yeah. So in this case, this one is a lot of fun. I like to use this one and then have the students compare. What did you choose? What did you do? So for this particular site, you get to choose a particular character. And in this one, they already have been preset on who's going to do what for particular jobs. So you have the bowler, you have the cowboy, you have the physicist, the plastic surgeon, and a cube dweller. And they never fail to ask me, what's a cube dweller? So, okay, you have to kind of explain those. So we choose the basic character. I like to play the bowler because he's a slacker. Select this character. You can use the statistics. You have to choose. Where do you want to live? You think, oh, cube dweller. What are we going to do? I usually play this one first with them to show them. Just kind of give them ideas. They always want to live in the mansion. We have the rent. We can always go back. And at that particular point, we live in an apartment. We're going to be in the city. We're going to ride the bus. And then you have some things we can transfer. Here's where the game starts. We take our disposable income. The whole point of this, and this is the kind of fun one for many kids, we need to start with disposable income. So when they choose the mansion, when they choose the other things, and the car, there's like a negative balance here, and they just don't get it. Like you can't. Exactly.
Can they back up?
Do you want me to do it wrong?
No, can they back up? Or is this once you've gone through?
They have to start over. They realize at this particular point that no, we don't have any disposable income to play with. We have to start over and choose properly. So yes, they usually fail that one miserably and have to go back right away. But it's those experiential aspects that I like. So we're definitely going to start paying off our debt because according to Dave Ramsey, we need to get that. And then we're going to go here. Yeah, we throw everybody. We throw everybody's name out. Nothing is passé. There's a great one. One of the videos I use is actually the maxed out video. If you haven't seen that one, maxed out. It's kind of a biography aspect, very Michael Moore-like, if you kind of take that with a grain of salt. But it shows them all the different things of happening with credit, all the bad things, the hidden side of credit, some of the credit card agencies on when they call people and harass them. The kids are really disgusted by the time they watch that because these people tend to be a bit viperish. Oh, let's see what else we have. We actually have a net worth now, so we continue on. But notice what pops up here. These are the little things that happen. These are the real life experiences. The kids don't have a choice on that. Automatically, we're doing something, and a lot of get-rich quick schemes. Your buddy has this fabulous investment. Should you invest in it? This one I really, really do like. Because if you get suckered into one of those, your whole thing can tank. Or it can send you. There's a fabulous website to talk about risk. My husband is one of those people who does not do any risk. His retirement would be bonded by government T-bills if he could. I am probably moderate, so we definitely have two different situations. He can't stand to watch it to go down. And he was one of those people that watches his retirement every day. I'm like, you are going to have a heart attack. You can't do that. I'm forbidding you to watch a retirement fund. Once a month, you may check. Thank God he lost his password because that was the best part. So, you have to continue with what's happening here, and you can see our net worth did go up. Oh, we got another bummer situation. It was a $90 wallet. Looks like we got robbed. So all the little things that are happening here, and as our net worth is changing. Yes, and it's moving very, very quickly. So, all the things. Here's an opportunity. You've heard of clean fill dirt, who cleans it. So you hear of this, you've got a guy, you have an opportunity to build into these particular funds. So I'm just going to scroll through. I guess I have to do something. Okay, there we go. We'll add to retirement. Oh no, we missed the train today. We're late for work. We're going to continue. We're watching our income grow. This might be the first time I've ever got it, you guys. I need to be a cucumber. No, I don't need to be a cucumber. No. I'm just hitting them through. Buy-in is $1,000. Pay off some more debt. How much is my debt? I probably got debt though. All right, we'll take one of these and see what happens. Add it all. Pushing it to retirement. Oh no. So all these little things that come in, and again, we've got 20 years to retirement, all the things that happen. For some of them it takes a little longer, some of them they kind of cruise through. All right. So reality check comes in. Okay, listen, we've been driving the bus for now, I think it's about 14 years we've been taking the bus. Maybe, again, kids, wife, spouse, all those things cost money.
So is this a one period thing?
I usually have them play that at different times, so I'll come back to say, go ahead and run this through. I'll probably do 3 or 4 different games if I'm at a computer session. I use my computer time very, very selectively, so if I would do that, I would say, okay, go use Everfi, complete the sessions, do one simulation of your of your particular character, and then at that point go to practice one else. Financial football, the soccer. So we use our lab time from starting to end. Does that make sense? And that way, having all of those resources plugged in at one, the kids can go right away and see. There's another one that I want to see. This one I'm not so hot with. It's those again, I'm all about free. If I can't get it free, I'm going to scrounge really bad. This one, it's a neat program, but it is $325. There's a lab license. It's also extraordinarily interactive. All right. What I actually prefer on top of that is Money Habitudes. It's a card game, and you kind of draw from a pile. So it's a little more physical, but the kids have to do, a little more pen and paper kind of thing. This one, Tycoon Games. This is the one I really like. This game, this particular website has a lot of really good. This is Learn for Good, a lot of flash-based games. But this one is their bit of a reality check. Number one, it's third world farmer. I know my little principality is not the third world farmer kind of aspect. Now you have to only live on a certain number of dollars a day. What are you going to do? Hotel, restaurant management. I don't get into, does anybody do entrepreneurship? Do you do entrepreneur with yours? Do you use the virtual program? There's a virtual entrepreneur program. Okay, one of our other high schools does that too, and that's another expensive one. The virtual entrepreneur is a world where the kids are a business. They're a business owner, and then they go through the daily life of being a business owner. But that one as well is an expense. I believe our county business department uses that one. Stocks, depending on how much risk. We talk about stocks and investment. I make them take a risk assessment quiz. Again, I got some kids that are really high risk, but they don't mind spending, they're losing their money. And then I have other kids that are like, no way, the casinos aren't my thing. So it's an interesting one when they go there. The stock market game obviously is really big with portfolios and doing all that. There was another one, Tycoon, any of the Tycoon games. Those are always fun, being able the expense on that.
How long would you say, because there's a bunch on this side, would you say each game takes for the kids to play?
It depends on the kid, obviously, and the machine. If it's a flash-based, once it's downloaded, that's the key. So if they could be downloaded ahead of time, whatever the case is, it depends. I can't really tell you 15, 20 minutes. Some could fly through in 3, others take 25. So it depends on the kid, it depends on their choices. And if a kid's doing a really good job and they care about what's happening, they're going to take their time into it.
So I mean, like if you had weekly computer time, you could start off with lessons.
I'd say 15 minutes. 15 minutes is probably an average good run through the game. I like it when they do it 2 or 3 times. Like I say, I always give them the option. Try to get your best score, try to get your worst score. I give them those ranges. So then they start to compete with each other that way. What's your best? What's your worst? But this site is really good. There's another one, and it has quite a few. And they're all flash-based games, and they go to another page here. So really nice. And then that's the football one. So that was kind of my life and what I want to do and what I want to be when I grow up. I still have no idea. Mad Money's on there, that one, Mad City Money.
How did you go from elementary to secondary? Or did you start in secondary?
When I went to elementary, I did the computers. And I got into teaching all the aspects of computers and not programming, we didn't have the code then, the little games and supplemental games to help them with vocabulary and little things like that. So it was elementary school based. When I got to, I was teaching computer science for high school, then I moved to the elementary, which is more game aspect, which of course was funny. When they built the lab, it was cubes. It was a cube farm for kindergartners, and they had all these little things. And I never saw any of them because they were all too tall. I had to walk behind them to see if they were actually doing anything. So poor layout in a computer lab, and it was like nobody thought about that. So then I get here, and it was one of those where I was like, well, we have this position and this position, and I can teach math with my eyes closed. So I went and did that here in the county, and then finally I did do an ITRT position for about 4 years. I opened Kettle Run High School. My husband was deployed to Iraq for 13 months. I was like, yeah, PhD, 2 children, deployment. Could I go back and teach math? And that's where I've been. So what do I want to do now? I have no idea. That's not true. I do have an idea. And if I hear my idea fairy, and actually I think I just met my magic prince here. I want to have, just like I had with the personal finance with Stagecoach Island, I want to have a virtual world where these kids can go and have a job and accelerate, and work through for a 6-week period and be able to have it online and download at home so they can go and they can build. They'd have to build their house, they have to buy their house, they have to buy their property and get a mortgage and do all the things there virtually, where all of them could be there at the same time and have them interact with each other and barter and trade and be neighbors in virtual world as well as on their desk. I want to be able to create that and make that. And like I said, Wells Fargo was there and they had it, and personalities let it slip through their fingers. So maybe I'll write them a letter. So thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate you coming and listening to my life. And if you have any questions, personal finance. Sure. You want to play?
No, I won't play. I just want to play.
Oh.
Is this presentation posted?
Yes, ma'am. It is on the VSTE site posted, so feel free to
Okay.
go from there. Financial football?
No,
That's under practical money skills.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Practical money skills. FIFA has it.
And FIFA soccer was on InCharge.
Yes. InCharge.org is another one. Of course, NEFI does a lot of materials. They're not into the games. National Endowment for Financial Education. That's all my content. They are not with the particular material. They're not with the games and simulations. And all of it is really supplemental material to take back. A good list of sites. Good age groups. So if any of you ITRTs go through and add anything, put it on your site and say if anybody's interested in this particular material.
Yeah.
Really
Because
good
I think
resources.
that you could do a lot with it. I mean, I know it's more geared, like the curriculum's more at the secondary level, but I think it could comprehend it.
Some of the sites are very for younger as well, for the little piggy banks and what piggy bank it goes into.
Yeah,
So,
and it's related to the project-based learning too, so.
yep. You could bring it off the screen and down into the classroom. That's one of the things I really enjoy about it. It's like, okay, here it is right in front of me. Let me tell you what I did. And, a lot of kids are like, my parents were whining about this the other day. Excellent. Let's talk about that.
I'm sure they're glad you shared it.
I wrote one for, I taught Secretary of State. I did one, and I turned in for stuff for that VSTE contest.
Nice.
It's not as detailed as these, it's in Excel. But the kids go and every level they had choices. Like they had to choose a house, and then they had like different real estate agents that pick which one they wanted. And then they type the price in, and then it was a separate page.
Nice.
Transfer everything over. And they chose like what kind of house they wanted, what kind of car they wanted to drive. I had a few like hypothetical choices, clothes, food, all this like a monthly budget. And then at the end, it told me how much it's going to cost to live. And then they had to go, and there was like another sheet that picked like what kind of education they were going to get. And then gave them a monthly income. And then they have to. Then they usually have to go back.
To readjust?
And readjust. And it was
Yeah,
really,
imagine.
yeah, it was really cool with my kids because like the stuff that a 13-year-old doesn't think of is there's a bill for that cell phone. I want to have cable TV. It's expensive.
Yeah. Consumer Jungle, they're
stuff-
not as big anymore, but they did
Yeah.
have nice things with cell phone stuff.
Yeah, but I just wrote that one on my own.
Nice.
We did it originally as like a workbook, and then we put it on. I think it's on our website.
God, Parker Brothers take the game of life and make it virtual. There's my dream come true.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly what I was.
It's like, could you just put this out in the world and I'll buy.
We've got, even though we're a private school and not bound by any of the graduation requirements, we've got a personal finance class, and they're really only doing one thing right now, and the kids are quite bored. And that was my first thought: is just do the game of life in class.
And that's how I started.
And
I literally had 4
it's-
versions
yeah.
of the game. I
Yeah.
owned it. I'm like, you play. Now you list
Yeah.
everything up. What happened?
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, him and her, I'm private school too, so
Mhm.
I have problems, but when I got this task about 8 or 9 years ago, I started, since I was a computer programmer by trade, I wrote my own program. So they get a simulated job, I send out paychecks, they
That's
pay
awesome.
bills.
That's it.
Yeah.
And they're into charge accounts now.
Yeah.
And
A lot of the kids are coming to school. You know, the back row is a high rent district. You want to sit there, you better have paychecks. You were talking about, you know, writing that. That's it. Here's your paycheck. I'm sorry, you can't afford to live here. You have to sit up here.
Yeah,
You know?
what we did is that was back before the computers were big.
Yep.
They came to school, and so they got a paycheck for the hours. So we said a typical school week was 40 hours. If you missed a day, they had to write their paycheck every Friday, and they had to deduct those 8 hours. And then so then they didn't have enough money at the end of the month sometimes to pay everything that they wanted. And it was old school because we didn't have the computers right. I mean, it was probably 15 years ago, but it got the lesson across to them that. And they get you roll the dice every week, and sometimes they get a $200 check from grandma, and sometimes they have a flat tire, and just the incidentals that you can't always
The
see.
incidentals.
You would have to, but one site that we used a lot in Texas was, and it has a horrible name, it's called Cooter. And it's a college prep, and it talks about, I don't know who thought of it, but it has on there simulations. And so we had during our, we had additional instructional time when we had the kids, we'd have a lesson every week, and you would say, okay, you want X, Y, and Z, and this is the job you want, you don't make enough money, so you have to go back and you have to figure out what you're going to be.
Right.
And then, but it also aligns it with like the schools in every state, how much it costs to go there, what room and board is, and what their ACT scores is. So it's more of a college prep site that you have to have a subscription for, but it has that finance element because a lot of kids say, I want to go to Harvard, but they don't really know how
to pay for Harvard.
How to pay for Harvard.
You guys, it's definitely over our time, so please, I'll be feel free to chat with you at any
let me
point.
add
But
about that, because I started off with college.
Yeah.
And I let them pick any college they wanted to go to.
Yeah.
If the only condition is they had to pay off their house. And for the first time, I had somebody get a negative on their bank.
nice.
Because they had a $1,670 tuition a month.
Is it 415 or 4? I don't know. I talked.
It's 4.
Oh, 315. So 415. But yeah, great. I wanted to see if I can get you. I wonder if I can get into a site to show you. But you're welcome to go, and if you have any questions. My goal, like I said, I definitely want to have some type of resource for all the personal finances there. So whether it's making a page, but I really want, I love the aspect of virtual environments, digital citizenship, all of that wonderful stuff. I will literally be hanging out in the tower tomorrow, so you'll know where to find me. I Minecraft and Second Life, and I love all that stuff, and I want to bring it into personal finance.
A good component to make sure to put in there is allowing the kids to run through, the things are already out there for them to use. It would just be a matter of making sure it's in there. Run through one of those things where they go through choices to find out what they might be good in, like a career type thing.
Yes, I understand.
So that would be good for them to do. That was probably the first way I even got interested in this, is teaching English.
Yeah, I
And they
try
had to
not
write
to
an
do
English
career. Everybody
research
does
paper.
your career,
Yeah.
so I don't necessarily focus on that.